What's going on, everybody? My name is j-statik and this is the Statik Sessions. So today we're going to be breaking down Mankirt Aulakh's new song Bhabi, which I mixed and mastered for the producer Avvy Sra. Song's a banger. We're going to be jumping right into it, showing you guys what we did, how we mix it down. Let's get started. So jumping right into it, this song is a banger. So if you haven't heard it yet, please go check it out on YouTube, Spotify, whatever you need to, because the song is a banger. Avvy's been making some dope-ass music lately, and this is another added bonus to his project. He's working with Mankirt. I think this is his second time, possibly more. Song's a banger. So as you can tell, I got a couple of vocal layers here. We got some melody layers, effects. We jump into the drums, and he's got a couple of cool drum patterns. He's got kicks, this groove of a snare, hi-hat loop, and then some more stuff. So let's jump into it, show you what he does. So first I got this bass layer. Sick bass layer. I added some effects to it, so I'll show you guys what we added in this one. So this was a really cool ass bass because it was it sounds like a bass guitar, but it didn't have that really low end. So what I wanted to do was add some of that. So all I did was open up this Voice of God beautiful plugin right here. Pretty much left them on because this thing, as soon as you turn it on, it just sounds great. I was gonna say tastes great, but it does sound great. Turn it on and it adds that lower end without disrupting any of that bass harmonic highs. And if you can hear, there's some a little bit of like this clip sound, and that's just the sidechain compressor working really hard. Without the sidechain, it sounds like this. A lot of nice low end. Now I'll show you what happens when I add in the kick. It's great, but I can hear the kick interfering with the bass line a little bit. And for as loud as I want to go, there's no way I'd be able to keep it that loud and have the kick still popping through. So I added some sidechain onto the bass just to make some room for it, and it sounds like this. And it's not much. It's not much gain reduction. Just I'm guessing it's probably like 3-4 dB of, or maybe like 2-3 dB of gain reduction. Nothing crazy. So now the kick on its own. To make this happen, what it sounds like without any of my effects is this. It's great, but number one, tiny bit obviously distorted because I have the gain pushed up to about 4.5. But what I did was I wanted to make some space, give it some headroom, and EQ it properly. So I got rid of anything that was below about 30 hertz because that's all rumble and garbage. It sounds like this. Also reduced the gain, so I had a little bit of headroom. And then I opened up a DBX 160. Did some minor compression, nothing crazy, about 4 to 1 compression, not much threshold. Even turned down the gain a little bit. I just wanted that thump of the kick to come through. That's it for the kick. Now, on top of that, we got these drums. Awesome drums, little cool little drum loop. I didn't want to do much to it because it's a prominent piece in the song, and it actually comes through quite a bit. If I had any compression, all these hi-hats and all that stuff would have came out. So I thought instead of just messing with it, why not keep it the way it is and just enhance it a little bit. So what I did was, again, get rid of anything that's about 30 hertz and below, and then I added some top end to it where the hi-hat is. And a little bit of the snare crunch comes through. It sounds dope. And he's got this snare, which I didn't do anything to. Really top end snare. All I did was EQ them because they sounded really good. This is a cool little hit that he added in. All I did was set that level for that. Avvy's the type of guy, when he sends me a song, it's usually mixed pretty well in the actual stems that he gives me, and then he gives me a reference track to always reference. And the beat itself is pretty well done. Like, it's already where he kind of wants it to be. It just needs to be cleaned up a little bit. So I don't play with his levels too much because I know he's already got it where he's going. And then what he does is gives me a usually gives me a dry vocal, and then he wants me to kind of match where he's at, but still make the vocal sound bigger and whatnot. So we'll just go through his individual sounds. Like that, he already gave me with the reverb. It already sounds really nice. There was not much I had to do to it. Then I had this electric guitar. I added in some reverb and delay into that and added some top end just because it sounded kind of abrupt when it was in the mix with the rest of the instruments, which I'll show you. But once I added some reverb and delay, it sounded like it, became bigger in the song. It's a little minor element, but it sounds really nice. Then we had some pianos. Which was nice. Synth, once again, really nice. Then he had this brass. Now this brass was something that I thought was really important because I didn't want the brass to stick out in the front end and come through the middle. I kind of wanted it more on the sides, but sounding fat and like underneath the whole song. So what I decided to do was open up a really regular EQ, boost the 100K mark and the 500, 600 mark roughly. And that adds that low end. And then what I did was add a XLV2 and added some stereo width to it. So it became a little bit bigger. So I'll show you what it sounds without it. I'll show you what it sounds with it. So without. And I can hear it down the middle. I know there's stuff on the sides, but I know it's mainly directly down the middle. And once I add this, the sides come to life a little bit more, which I thought was really cool. That's one thing I did with that. Then he's got this little sax sound. Already got reverb added to it, so that was dope. Then he's got the scratch sound, which was just leveled out. Then he's got a riser. It has some snare rolls in it too. Yo. And a vocal yo. So that had too much information for me to do anything with, so all I did was level that out. Then he had some shouts, which he gave me. Then he had this. Whip it up, all these rocks on my wrist. Bring it back up, cause it's. And I can already tell this was like super processed from Avvy's side, so it sounded exactly how he wanted it to sound. I just thought it was a little bit sharp and ear piercing, so what I did was add a de-esser. Whip it up, all these rocks on my wrist. That where it says like wrist. Whip it up, all these rocks on my wrist. Bring it. Without the de-esser, it becomes really sharp. With it, it tames it a little bit without affecting the sound too much. Now we get to the whole vocal section of everything. And this is where we jump into some serious processing. So in here, you can see I have a whole range of plugins. For this, I'll show you guys what it sounds like dry. I'll show you guys what it sounds like with all the effects. And we'll go through them all one by one. So this is dry. Bhabi meri umr niyaani munda tusi vaili labya. So with this, you could tell there's a lot of dynamics in the vocal. It's sharp on some notes and some words, and then it just kind of tames down and it comes back aggressively. So I wanted to play with it a little bit just so it sounds right in your face when you're hearing the vocal. Also in the song, he did a little bit of some crazy cool little effects. I'll show you in the actual reference. It's like he almost has two different types of delays running. So I wanted to replicate that thing because I couldn't do it with a regular delay. So I wanted to make sure he got that in there too. He also did it on this part. Which I thought was really cool. It's creative. So I took these and I separated them on their own. And then I did another duplicate of that and did another delay for it. So it sounded like how he had it in the actual original reference that he sent me. So jumping in, first thing we did was compress this vocal right off the bat. So you can tell with that, it's just the transients. Anything that's sharp or high, hard-hitting note, that's the first thing that's being attacked. After that, add an EQ. Got rid of some of the low end, added some brightness to it. Sounds dope. After that, I heard a lot of sharpness in this vocal, so I wanted to tame that a little bit without affecting it too much where it didn't sound like the original.
Bhabi meri umar niyaani munda tusi vaili labbya Bhabi meri umar niyaani munda tusi vaili labbya.
You could tell as I went on and off, it sounds much more soft when I do it with my EQ cuts a little bit. Without it, you can hear the sharpness in there. After that, added in some LA2A. Not much actual compression. I only did a couple of dB, and I raised the gain a little bit so that it sounds more in your face. After that, did the real processing with this bad boy, the JJP. Now I brought back some of the harshness in the vocal at the beginning, but with the highs, you can tell that I reduced some of the highs from the initial preset that it loads up with, added in the magic a little bit more, and added in the attack. Now the attack really brings the vocal out to the front. That's one thing that's this plugin's really good at. So I use that a lot. I make sure that it brings the vocal right to the front. Now to tame the hardness, I added some multiband on the mid-range and on the low end to get rid of any of that low, mid, dirty dirt. And now without it. With it, it sounds a lot more tame, so I kept it that way for sure. After that, went into some RVox. Did a little bit heavier compression than normal. Did about 4.3 thresholds. Which really brings that vocal to the front. Now to tame that harshness once again, I added in some more tape. It also adds this really soft low texture to the low end, which I thought sounded really nice. Once again, to tame some of the harshness, add in some de-essing. Yeah, once again, tame that harshness a little bit. Then I wanted to limit the vocal a little bit, just bring it back up to the front a little bit more. It brings out elements that you don't really hear in the vocal that should be heard a little bit more. And then after that, I wanted to make the vocal, once again, I know it doesn't really do anything fully to a mono sound, but it does a little bit bring out this weird texture on the side, so I added some stereo width to the vocal. It adds some weird stereo artifacts or whatever it is to the sides, which I thought sounded really nice. That was it for the vocal processing, nothing crazy. And then after that, I added some reverb and delay. And I know a lot of people have been asking about what reverb and delays I use and how I use them. I already have this. I have a project template set up, which is just blank when I open it up. So there's no, there's no like vocal presets and none of that stuff. It's just a blank slate. But the one thing I do have set up is my Valhalla Room reverb and my delay. Because most of the time, that's like my signature type of mixing style. I keep that stuff pretty standard. I have a short delay in case I need anything for just like a quick slapback type of reverb. And then I have this for more of a longer, more dramatic, bigger reverb, which tends to be used a lot more in the Punjabi industry, I would say. So I got about 4-second delay, 11-second pre-delay, and I cut off some of the highs just to make it not sound like the reverb's super prominent. It's kind of hidden in the back a little bit more, so filtered. And then for the delay itself, nothing crazy, just a 4 beat delay, 40% feedback, 100% wet, and simple fade. Just on this song specifically, normally it's set to ping pong, but because in the reference, the way Avvy sent it, it was just a fade delay or a simple delay, I just kept it the same way. So we added that, and now the vocal sounds like this. Bhabi meri umar niyaani munda tusi vaili labbya. It sounds a lot louder and a lot prominent now because I also have my master chain on, which I'm going to go through in a second. But now, to keep the vocal delays the way he had them in the original song, this is what I did. So on this vocal, I added a 4-beat delay. I set the dry wet to about 16 so that it keeps hitting the way it's supposed to. Labia is the main part that keeps repeating, and then I added the next line, and I added another delay to that with a 25% dry wet send, 24% feedback, and an 8-beat delay this time so that the whole word gets repeated. So you'll hear that. I'm going to mute this part so you guys can hear it properly from the beginning.
Bhabi meri umar niyaani munda tusi vaili labbya.
So now I have 2 different delays running. It sounds like one word's being repeated, then it sounds like the whole word's being repeated. And he did the same thing in this one. So if I mute this part, you'll see it. Without that, it would sound like this. It's a cool little effect of a delay that he did, and I thought we had to keep that in there because it sounded too dope. After that, you guys have seen the delays, the sends, the reverbs. Now we go into our mastering chain. So I'll open up everything so you guys can take a look at what I've done and how everything impacts it. So here's the mastering chain. I've never really opened it up for like this for you guys, but thought why not, so you guys can see what's going on. So for this mastering chain, I start off with basically a stereo width processor. I use this thing specifically just for stereo width. It's that little button over here. Turn that up. It got about 2.8 dB of stereo width, which I don't understand what the 2.8 dB means, but makes sense to me. Then I actually created this preset for myself because I do this on every track, and it's not like it's a process. It's just easier for me to do. So it's a hard cut at 20 hertz and below, hard cut at 20,000 hertz and above. Roughly at about 100 hertz and below, I eliminate any of the stereo width information to keep it more on the mono side, or strictly on the mono side. So anything underneath that is mono from the sub end, unless I hear stereo width in the bass, then I'll keep it in there. But for this, I just kept all the sub completely mono. Then here we got about at 324 hertz, I added a little bit of a boost to add some warmth to it. And then again, I did the same thing at 7.73 kilohertz, added some top end. Over here, I'll bring this up so you guys can see it. So now here, I did a couple of cool little things. As you can tell here, at around 22 hertz, I added about, not much, I could say maybe about 6-7 dB of just weird width, even though nothing's there. Because it's boosting everything on that end, it did add a little bit of low end to the bass end over here, or the low end. Then at about 300 hertz, I narrowed the width of the Q and I raised it about 4 or 5, I guess you can see 4 or 5, 6 dB. Then again at about 3 kilohertz, again, affected the Q a bit, so it's a little bit narrower, and raised that about 5, 6 at 18, I believe that is, K. Again, I don't read the numbers when I do this. I just kind of pick a number, start moving knobs, and whatever kind of feels right is where I leave it. So I'm not always paying attention at what K did I do it at or what hertz did I do it. I just pick one and do it. Left the Q pretty nominal and then just raised it up until I felt like it felt good. So that's it for the Manly EQ. Then on the T-Rax clipper side, did like a hard clip, raised it about 4 dB, and then added a hip-hop mastered loudness preset, left these roughly where they were, and then raised it about 2 dB. And we got this as the master output. Roughly about minus 4.5 dB is its peak, which is pretty high up there. Sounds nice. and adds a lot of sheen. So I thought it sounded really nice. I'll go through one more time through the plugins, and I'll just turn them on slightly so you hear the difference. So this is the stereo width. Add some nice stereo width over there, then added some Q2, tightened everything up a little bit. Added in some infinity EQ. You can feel like the warmth and the brightness is going to come up a bit now. Sounds really nice. Then went into the manly EQ and added in this super... I just went crazy on this EQ a little bit because I wanted to match Avvy's reference. Really easy. After that, oh, I didn't even talk about this, the Fab Filter MB. I forgot I added that in. So I noticed on this that there was some highs and harsh stuff up there. So I added this straight plugin in and it worked right away. And I thought this was awesome because when plugins work right away, it just sounds dope. So without it, it sounds like this. Now with it, it sounds like this. A lot softer on the higher frequencies, and it sounded a lot better. Now for the loudness. And then some L2 to stop any peaks from overdoing it. And then in the final output, reduce it about -10, -0.10. And that is it. That was the final mix. So that was the whole mixing mastering process behind Mankirt Aulakh's Bhabi song, produced by Avvy Sra, written by Shree Brar. Song is dope. Go check it out if you haven't already. Thank you for paying attention to this and all the other song breakdowns. Keep on signing up, keep on subscribing, commenting, liking. Hit that little bell for future notifications and alerts. And until next time, see you guys soon.